When Maya Bennett confronts systemic racism at her high school, her fight for justice sparks a movement that catches national attention, with President Donald Trump stepping in to support her call for equality and accountability. Maya Bennett sat on her bed, sunlight streaming through the curtains as her phone buzzed with urgent messages. Her best friend, Kayla, had texted in all caps. Jamal got suspended. Defending himself. Unreal. Maya's stomach sank. Jamal, kind and thoughtful, didn't belong in trouble. He belonged at the top of the honor roll, not in Principal Richard's office. The walk to school was heavier that day. By the time she reached the gates, whispers swirled about Jamal pushing back after Eric Jacobs provoked him, again. Kayla met her at the lockers, fuming. Eric called him that word. Jamal suspended, and Eric's walking free. Maya clenched her fists. Eric, protected by his father's influence, always got away with it. Ignoring Kayla's protests, Maya marched to the principal's office. Facing Richards, she demanded answers. Jamal violated the code of conduct, Richards said dismissively. But Eric didn't. Maya shot back. How is it fair to punish someone for standing up to a bully? Richards sighed. This isn't your concern. As the door shut behind him, Maya's frustration boiled over. If Richards wouldn't act, she would. They need to listen, she told Kayla. We're done being quiet. That night, Maya sat in the library scribbling plans. When Kayla arrived, she asked, planning a revolution? Maya smiled faintly. Not a revolution. Justice. By the next morning, Maya's friends had rallied behind her. We'll stage a sit-in, she declared. Right in the cafeteria during lunch. Carlos hesitated. Richards will retaliate. Let him, Maya replied. This isn't just about Jamal. It's about all of us. The group spread the word. By lunchtime, dozens of students were seated in the cafeteria, refusing to move. Maya stood with a megaphone, her voice clear and unwavering. We're here because Jamal was punished for standing up for himself. We won't stay silent anymore. The doors burst open. Principal Richards and police officers stormed in, demanding the students disperse. You're disrupting the school day, Richards barked. We're demanding justice, Maya countered. As officers pulled students away, Maya stood firm, her defiance caught on dozens of phones. That night, social media exploded with videos of the sit-in. Headlines like, High School Protests Sparks National Debate on Racism spread rapidly. The next day, Maya's phone buzzed with an unexpected message. The president wants to meet you. When Donald Trump arrived in town, the school and community buzzed with anticipation. In a private meeting, Trump listened as Maya detailed the systemic racism at her school. Jamal was punished for defending himself while his bully walked free, she said. It's not just him. It's a pattern. Trump nodded. This is a leadership failure. Tomorrow, stand with me. Let's make your story heard. The following day, Trump addressed the packed gymnasium. Racism has no place in our schools, he declared. Turning to Principal Richards, he added, leadership means accountability. You failed these students. Cheers erupted as Richards stumbled over excuses. Maya's quiet determination had become the voice of a movement. Jamal was reinstated. The school announced new anti-discrimination policies, though Maya knew these were just surface fixes. Sitting with Jamal in the cafeteria, she said, this is only the beginning. You're right, he agreed. But look how far we've come. Maya smiled. She wasn't done. As she opened a scholarship letter for a social justice program, she felt a spark of hope. Her fight wasn't just for her school, it was for every student silenced by injustice. Later that night, she wrote to her grandmother, I'll keep standing tall. I'll keep fighting for a better future. As the sun set over Jefferson High, Maya knew the real work was just beginning, but for the first time, she felt ready to face it. The days following the protest brought waves of change and challenges. The school board announced town hall meetings to address racial injustice, and Maya found herself at the center of every discussion. Jamal's reinstatement was a victory, but Maya knew the fight wasn't over. During one of the town halls, Maya stood at the podium, her voice steady despite the weight of the crowd's stares. This isn't about one student or one school, she began. It's about dismantling a system that treats some of us as less deserving of fairness. Principal Richards, seated near the back, avoided her gaze. The board promised to review disciplinary policies, but Maya remained skeptical. Policies are only as good as the people enforcing them, she reminded the audience. After the meeting, Jamal approached her. You've done more than anyone thought possible, he said. But are you ready for what's next? Maya nodded, determination etched in her expression. I've got no choice. If we stop now, everything we've done will mean nothing. Maya's story began spreading beyond her town. Invitations to speak at other schools poured in, and local leaders reached out for her insight on fostering inclusivity. Despite the recognition, Maya stayed grounded, focusing on practical steps to improve Jefferson High. Kayla joined her in organizing peer-led workshops, where students could share their experiences and discuss solutions. At the first session, Jamal stood up. We're not just here to complain, he said. We're here to build something better. The workshops grew in popularity, and even hesitant teachers began attending. Slowly, the atmosphere at the school shifted. Maya felt the weight of her role, but she also felt the support of a growing community. Months later, Maya received an official letter from the school board. Principal Richards was stepping down. The announcement marked the end of an era, but for Maya, it was only one piece of the puzzle. On her last day at Jefferson High, Maya walked through the halls, her scholarship acceptance letter tucked into her bag. Students greeted her with smiles and nods, their gratitude unspoken but clear. Jamal caught up with her at the front steps. Leaving already, he teased. Time to see what's next, she replied, a hint of excitement in her voice. But this place, these people will always be a part of me. As she walked away, the school behind her felt less like a battlefield and more like the foundation of something new. Maya didn't know exactly what the future held, but she knew one thing for certain. She was ready to face it. Years later, Maya stood on a stage in a packed auditorium, addressing a national audience. Her voice carried the same resolve it had in the cafeteria years ago. Change isn't easy, she said, but it's possible. If a group of students can spark a movement, imagine what we can achieve together. The crowd erupted into applause, but Maya's thoughts lingered on Jefferson High and the spark that had started it all. Jamal's face, Kayla's unwavering support, the cafeteria protest, they were the roots of her journey. As the applause faded, Maya stepped away from the podium, ready to continue the fight for justice, wherever it led. Subscribe to our channel for soul-stirring stories.